Hello, sweet friends. This is Gina. Welcome to the TheReBookery channel. I am just, I like can't even stay in my skin right now. I'm about to jump out of it. I'm so excited. So I've been thinking about this kit for quite a while, but I just hadn't really put it all together yet. Like there was a piece that I was missing, and yesterday there was no snow, no ice, so my husband and I got out and I went into a little thrift store, wasn't planning on buying anything, and I found the missing piece. Remember these credit card receipts? Do you remember the credit card machine where you would like put it in and then they would go this way and go that way, and the machine would always get jammed and it would rip the papers, and oh, I saw so many salespeople get their little fingers caught in it. And before this, there was even the one where you would pull back and it would like imprint the credit card. Oh my gosh. Now, this was before my time of having credit cards, but I can remember a couple of times my parents would let me borrow their credit card to go buy some clothes for school. And I remember, first of all, I thought I was really cool getting to use a credit card. And second of all, I remember like walking away from the store with this receipt in my hand, thinking it was like pure gold, like it was the most important thing in the entire world. So yesterday, my husband found a stack of these at a thrift store, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's on. So all night long I could not sleep because I was just thinking about, okay, this is the missing piece to the kit that I wanted to put together. So let me explain this kit. So we're gonna start with, this is a picture of my grandma and my grandpa. And actually, I think that's my son, that's my middle son right there, that they're holding. So this is my mom's parents, and they owned a donut shop. So I grew up working in a donut shop, basically living in a donut shop. And then my grandpa was a woodworker, so then he opened up a woodworking shop. And so my grandma, she did the bills and everything. My grandma was a genius with math, so she took care of all the bills while my grandpa did all the making. So this is a picture of my brother and I. So here's my brother and here's me. And this is out in front of my grandparents' house, one of the houses that they live in. So this was the first one that I remember them living in. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because this kit is centered all around my grandma and grandpa, this house that I'm standing in front of, and this machine right here. So this was my grandma's adding machine. And at her house, the adding machine was at her little desk. And this was like every grandkid, and she had a ton of grandkids. I think we had 12. There were 12 of us all together. So every time grandkids would come over, the first thing they would say is, Grandma, can I play with the adding machine? And if Grandma wasn't doing the bills at that time, because she had to do the deposit every day, so a lot of times it would be in the evening after dinner, and so if she wasn't doing that, she would let us sit down and we get to push the buttons, and sometimes we'd actually get to turn it on and she'd let us use the tape, and we'd press the add button and all these little switches, and oh my gosh, it was like the coolest thing in the whole wide world, because we would play like we were the office people. And then my grandma stepped up and she actually got a typewriter, and that was it was unbelievable. Like, we couldn't even speak. The typewriter, you would just sit at the typewriter. Of course, it was like this big, you know, it was huge. You would sit at the typewriter and you would just look at it, and you would pretend that you were touching all the keys, and sometimes she'd let you turn it on, and sometimes she'd let us type on it, and oh my gosh, it was like the coolest thing in the world. So my mom, she was cleaning out my grandparents' garage, and the adding machine was there, so she gave it to me. So this has been sitting in my garage, and I haven't done anything to it. I cleaned it up a little bit because it's really dirty, and my grandparents smoked a lot, so this was like really, really dirty and you know, stained and stuff. But I've tried to clean it up a little bit, but it even smells like them. Anyway, so I got this out of the garage, and I want to show you where I'm headed with this kit. Did you ever play office or bank or secretary or business? My cousins and I, we would play office all the time, especially when we went over to my grandma's house, because we would go in her little office room, and that would be, we'd put on her high heels and her necklaces, and we'd pretend like we were the secretary. And we had the most fun. It was like, it was better than playing school, because playing school I could play with my younger brother and my younger cousins, but playing office was like for real. It was like legit, and it wasn't for the little kids, it was only for the older cousins. And so when we played office, we thought we were so cool. So I've been wanting to put together an office kit for a really long time, and I needed this last piece to kind of pull it all together. So here's my office kit. So first of all, it comes in a little bank bag, because I remember we had bank bags all over the place, like bank bags for deposits. And then when I worked at the donut shop, I would always have to fill the bank bag with cash and run it across the street to the bank and get change for the cash register. And so this is my bank bag. So this kit will come in a bank bag, which is just a page protector. And then I had some insurance cards, playing cards, and some bank playing cards. And so I stuck those on there because I thought that would kind of be, you know, like this is the name of the business. And then in the kit, I have stuffed it full of all kinds of office and business bank ephemera. Things that when I was young, this is the stuff we would love to play with, because this is how we would play office. So let me walk you through what is in each kit. Okay, so the first thing that's in each kit is going to be a stapled menagerie of receipts. So a couple years ago I went to an estate sale, and this was a gentleman who had a lot of paperwork and stuff, and I just bought the boxes and I got ledger paper and stuff, but there was all these receipts. So there are stacks and stacks of these receipts, and they're stapled together. I have not taken them apart, so each kit will get a stapled menagerie of these receipts, and I think they're from like the 1960s, 1970s. Then there's this little gift card. It's like just a record card of if you were going to go register for gifts for your wedding or something. But it was cards, and that was one thing that when we played office, we always liked to have cards, because that just kind of, I don't know, cards just seemed very data processing and stuff. Because this was, you know, this was during the 80s, so like data processing and all that good stuff, and machines that made weird noises, that was like the cool thing. So this is a card. This is a counter item card. It's a cash voucher. It's orange. This is a heavy index card and another heavy index card. So these were like the ones that you would put your labels on. There is a little coin envelope that I've stamped, and then in the coin envelope I have 5 stamps. These are old stamps from, actually these are from my other grandma. So this is from my dad's mom. She collected stamps and gave them to me, and actually I just got them like last year, so I haven't had them very long, but she's got a lot of stamps in there. There's just this card that I found at an estate sale, and it's how to be a business person, like how to work in a workplace, and it gives you like conflict resolution and how to get along with your coworkers. There is a calendar page from 1981, and then either an address page or a calendar page from, and I think this one is 1980. And then there is a 1980 calendar page, and you'll just get like 4 days or 5 days on it, so it's like a week. But on the other side, there is a plant, and it tells you about the plant, because I don't know, this calendar for whatever reason had plants on it. There's a time card. There's a while you were out pieces paper, so like that you could write messages and stuff on before we have voicemails. The credit card receipt, and it'll have a carbon copy, and then it's got this thicker paper one right here, so it'll be a three ply, and it's even got a number on it. I'm gonna come back to this one. A couple receipts. a couple of pieces of paper that I just got from, and this is not vintage, but it was thrifted, like a day book calendar type thing. So a couple of, and they're kind of pretty, so this would make good backgrounds for journaling. Okay, let me show you this. How about this? We're going to really go down memory lane here. Do you remember the Avon lady? Okay, so my stepmom had an Avon lady, and her name was Lyda, and Lyda would come once a month or whatever, and we were goofy kids, and Lyda loved to talk, and so we'd just sit around and talk with Lyda, and oh my gosh, it was just crazy stuff. Anyway, so my dad texted me the other day, and he's like, what was the name of the Avon lady that used to come out to our house, because they had forgotten, and I don't know why, but I remembered her name. Anyway, I have these Avon order books, and when my dad called and asked me about that, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot I had these books. So these books are just where they would write their orders, and then, you know, they would go and mail them into their company, and then you'd get your Avon stuff. But these were actually written in, and they were written in by, I'm assuming, a little girl. And it was like she was taking pretend orders. And I thought that was the cutest thing in the world, because we would take my grandma's receipt books from the donut shop, and we would pretend that we were writing our own orders. So when I found this book and I read what this little girl had written, oh my gosh, this is just the cutest lip balm. This is just the cutest Cupid Palm free fun kit. It just reminds me of when I was younger and we would pretend to do stuff like this. Look, aftershave. Oh, I love it, love it, love it. So this is full of all of this little girl had written, and then this book was blank. So each kit will get a blank Avon order form. Then, because, you know, this was during the 80s, and so computers and stuff, we weren't really hip to them yet, even though they were out there. But do you remember the printer paper for when you did get a printer that had the dots, and you would line the circles up with the little dots or the little pegs that would stick up, and it would go through your printer? Okay, so I've got these data cards, and what I did, there's 3 of them, is I have a collection of old business stamps. So a lot of these are businesses from downtown Kansas City. A couple of these, so like this is Papa Jake's wood shop. This was my grandparents' wood shop. And then there should be another one for my grandparents. Let me look here. Oh, here you go. This was with the first donut shop stamp they had. It was called Golden Donut Shop, but they then changed the name to Papa Jake's because my grandpa was Papa Jake's, so they changed the name, and so this was the original stamp. There's just all kinds of different stamps in here, and so what I did was I took and I stamped on the 3 cards, and then I left them intact because this sounds weird, but one of the coolest things to do when we would play Office is when you would get to rip something out of a book, or you'd get to rip something out of a receipt book, or you get to pull apart something that was perforated. I know that sounds totally corny, but there was just something very cool about doing that. So I left it all intact so you can pull your own tags out as you want to use them. Then let me move this to the side. There is a security envelope that I've just done some stamping on, and inside the security envelope I have tucked in other things that you would use when you were playing Office. So here's some cuts from some deposit slips from the 1970s, and they've got the cool stamping on them. And then, I don't know about you guys, but when we played Office, we had to have money and stuff. And so, for whatever reason, we would call things invoices, probably because that's what my grandma and grandpa would talk about, were invoices. So we wanted money and invoices because we thought that's how you played business. So we would use game pieces. And so, like, these would be our invoices. Okay, so we would take these things to the bank because these were our invoices, and then we would use pretend money for our exchange for our invoices and how we would pay and everything. So I pulled from my collection of game pieces and stuff, and I found I had enough to put an invoice and some play money in each one of the kits. So you'll get an envelope and it'll be full of that, and then it'll all tuck into, so let me fold this up here, and just, it's a fun little array of colors. So you've got, it's mostly muted, but there's some bright colors that you'll have in there. Plus the stamps, I tried to give you a different color, lots of different colors on the stamps. And then the receipts with the original handwriting. And so it'll all tuck into, let me see if I can get it in here, your bank bag. And what a cool little ephemera pack. That would be so fun. Like, I cannot wait, because now that I've done this, I'm going to do a couple layouts about my grandma and about playing office and about just the things that my cousins and I would do when we played bank or we played office, or just even when I was working at the donut shop and I got older, and the things that I would do and just how it reminds me of my grandma. So I wanted to share this with you guys because maybe you did something similar to this when you were younger, or maybe you just like this office type of ephemera and you wanted to add it to your journals. So I am going to be putting these into my shop, and I have enough that I have quite a few kits, so hopefully everybody will be able to get one. And I'd love to see what you guys do with these. I'd love to see your comments. What did you used to play when you were younger? Was it school? Was it office? Was it bank? Was it restaurant? I'd love to hear about your stories. Okay, guys, have a great rest of the day. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're happy, and I hope you do something creative. Bye.